Today's episode is sponsored by the Christian Standard Bible. The goal of the CSB is to be faithful to the original languages without sacrificing clarity, all the while maintaining both accuracy and readability. With beautiful designs and multiple study Bible options, everyone, from adults to teens to children, can find a CSB Bible that they enjoy. Learn more at csbible.com.
Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Marc, Hyde,
And Chris Fuller.
and on today's episode of Real Talk Christian, we're talking about the unlovable. We're going to talk about who the unlovable are and what does it mean to love the unlovable as a Christian. You ready to do this thing, Fuller?
Let's go. Wow, I've been practicing for the Getty music video or Music Fest videos too much because I was like, let's go.
Well, I kind of stuttered a little. I was like, welcome to Real Talk. It was interesting, my
But
friend.
the funniest part of that whole intro is when you almost forgot to hit the record button.
Dude, I'm
You're
out
like,
of practice.
all right, I'm ready. I'm like, oh, it's
Can we let the people know about our secret, our RTC secret?
I think we've told them our secret.
Oh, we
many
have.
times,
We don't record every single week.
Well, we used to, but then
Then it got exhausting.
We got crazy busy with everything. So now we try to batch record, and so yeah,
It's just wild.
It's been about 3-4 weeks since we last
4
recorded.
weeks. Yeah. And in those 4 weeks so far, I have gained a brother-in-law because my sister married Joe, Joe is a podcast listener.
Hey, Joe.
And not only did I gain a brother-in-law, but I actually performed the wedding for them as well. I performed the ceremony. And I made my sister, everyone else was quiet, and she was dying laughing during their vows.
Did you
crushed it.
Did you do the Princess Bride like they are?
I usually do. But I didn't know if they were going to get that.
Is what bring us together
today. No, I normally do that for the beginning. But no, I was doing the vows, and they did very traditional vows, like in sickness and health, for better, or for worse, for richer, or for poor. And
then,
at the end,
what did you throw in there? Because that was
for
funny.
a man's vow, I said, for richer, or for poor, with hair, or without hair, and the whole place just lost it. And we were talking like, ha, ha, ha.
Okay,
and everyone stopped.
But
and then
explain
Amanda
why.
kept laughing.
Explain why.
Explain why?
Explain why you did that, right?
Are you going to make me call out this man's business in front of everybody?
No, I was more
thought
talking about how tense she was, and you were like, I got to try to make her laugh here. Relax.
I thought you were trying to throw me under the bus calling Joe bald.
Obviously, it's on your mind.
It is on my mind.
Joe, you're always
let's just put it this way.
mind.
My hair right now is so glorious that I could cut it off and then give Joe a lot, and I still be okay.
Poor Joe.
I would be okay. But no, but like during the vows, like Joe said, feel free to have a little bit of fun. Amanda was like, don't be too much fun. But Joe was like, Marc, just be you. So this was not written in the wedding script, right? And so I was looking at my sister, and she just looked super tense. And I was like, do I roll? Do I do it? Do I not?
And you rolled.
And I said, screw it. Let's do it. And so I said it, and it nailed it.
The question
absolutely nailed it.
Is when you do something funny in the middle of a vow,
does that eradicate the vows?
Is that good luck or bad luck? Like, shoving the cake in your face, that's considered technically bad luck?
Really? I did not know that.
It's considered bad luck.
I had no, really?
There's like Janelle told me one time, she's like, did you know this blah, blah, blah percentage of people who shove cake in each other's faces end up getting divorced? And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, so you better not shove cake in my face. So I don't know if she's just pulling my leg or.
So am I part of that statistic?
Oh, wow.
We just went there.
Did you burn yourself there?
I just did.
You just burned yourself.
I did. But no, they are really sweet. But dude, so at the reception though, right? So we were at this hotel, gorgeous ballroom for the reception. That was some of the best eats I've ever had, dude. They had this like.
I'm sorry. Use words that are in the dictionary. What did you just say?
The food was amazing.
There you go.
The best eats. It was slapping, bro. Like it was legit.
So, wait, hold on.
It was slapping.
Hang on a sec, bro. All right, I can get behind the bro. All right,
You can't get behind slapping.
No.
It was fire. How about that? You know that term. It was fire. That was your day and age. Fine. It was tasty. It was yummy.
This is why
it was yummy.
There are people eating Tide Pods.
Sorry, but no, the food was absolutely incredible. The ceremony was a whole lot of fun to do. This was the first time that all of my mom's sisters had been in the same place in the last like 15 years. I think so. It's kind of a family reunion for the McLaughlin side of the family.
The who?
The McLaughlin.
The McLaughlin?
Uh-huh.
I like that.
They're
McLaughlin.
They're
Scottish.
But it was weird. I had a moment. Tell me if you remember having this moment where I'm sitting with all my uncles and I'm having not just having an adult conversation, but I'm one of the adults hanging out with my uncles, watching my kids play. And the last time we were all together, I mean, not
you were the kid
quite
playing?
I was the kid playing.
That's
or
crazy.
I was like the teenager just kind of figuring things out. But now I'm like having real adult conversations with my aunts and uncles, with my kids. And I had a surreal moment because, most of the time it's like you just do your day to day. And as you grow, like my mom, I never really had that moment because she's always been there. But this was one of those moments where I was like, whoa, like my aunts and uncles are just here.
That's the moment you
it's
go,
just cool.
Man, my hip's kind of hurting. Man,
I'm
getting old.
It was cool. I mean, I got to catch up with every single one of them. And not every uncle was able to make the trip up.
Sure.
I got one uncle who's not doing so great health-wise, so he wasn't able to make the trip up, sadly. But, it was really cool just hanging out with all of them. It was a good old time. Nice. And now they're in Munich, Germany, sending me pictures of beautiful churches, and I am not happy about it.
Well.
Because I'm here in South Bend.
You know what? That's, what is that? Jealousy's a sin.
Is it really jealousy, or is it more of, I'm happy for you, but stop? Not really. Keep sending me pictures, Joe. I love it.
That's when you just block numbers.
That's when you just block them.
All right. So anyways, we got a new thing that you want to try tonight.
So we have done so many different games just to get to know us a little bit.
The Would You Rathers, Party
If you're
Cues.
new to the podcast, this is something that we've been doing since almost the beginning of the show, right?
Yeah, we started doing it, I don't know, probably halfway through the first season, but it'd be like, hey, people keep asking to get to know us more. We'll just go ahead and throw it out there.
And we've been growing our Facebook group and get to know those people more, but it's still fun for us to have the fun questions. So rather than do what we have done, which is we've done questions in a box, we've done party cues.
Would you rathers?
And we've done would you rathers. I have a never have I ever.
Never have I ever.
And so this is the teenage version because the adult version was not. It was a little inappropriate for the podcast.
Very bad.
It was a little inappropriate. Funny but inappropriate. So this is the teenage selection. This is the teenage selection. So
all right, let's go.
Never have I ever slept overnight in a car. Have you?
Oh, I have.
Really?
Yeah. I've slept overnight on a park bench outside of an airport. Yes, sir.
Which airport?
In Sanford, Florida. They close at like 11 o'clock at night, and they don't reopen until like 5.
And you were stuck.
I got dropped off there because I didn't want to leave my car and pay the outrageous parking fee. And they dropped me off. I thought it was going to be open all night. I was going to be able to just take a nap, inside like South Bend Airport, right? No, they go, we're closed. And I go, I guess I'm sleeping on the park bench. And then I had a cop roll up on me, like asking to see my boarding ticket and like my identification. He thought I was a homeless guy. It was interesting.
Wow. What year was that?
2012.
Wow. Okay.
So a while ago.
That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever slept in a car overnight.
No?
I don't think. Well,
dude, it's the best.
I feel like
we used to take road trips, and like my dad would pull off into cornfields, and we'd like sleep overnight. He'd drive till he got tired, and then we'd pull off.
Well, as a kid, overnight trips, sure, maybe, but no, I don't think I've ever actually slept in a car overnight intentionally. Never have. All right, next one.
All right.
That's dumb. Everyone has. Never have I ever lost my phone. I always lose my phone.
Well,
that's why I have a watch.
You have to quantify losing phone. Like misplacing for a reasonable amount of time, yes. Losing it completely, no, I've never done that.
Nope. I have completely lost an iPad. I sat on top of the car and drove off, and the iPad was just gone. All right.
Never have
Last
I ever.
one,
All
okay?
Right, here we go.
Last one. Never have I ever broken into a no trespass zone.
I have never done that.
Now, that shocks me. I thought you would have back in the day.
No, I've never done that.
Everything is on limits in Niles, Michigan, folks. Everything.
Yeah, there is no trespassing signs.
No trespassing signs.
They're like, hey, come on over and I'll shoot at you. And if you can escape, then you live to see another day.
I was always too scared to get caught. So
really?
Intentionally, have I ever gone into a no trespassing zone? No, I've always stayed where I was supposed to.
Sure.
I think the most risky thing I've ever done is when like the McDonald's playhouses, like when the things are open and you get to go underneath where the workers go. That's probably the most risky I've ever done.
That's technically like a no trespass.
It is. That's what I was saying. Like that's probably the riskiest thing I did when I was a kid to do that.
Sinner
shall not pass.
You shall not pass.
You shall not pass.
All right, but anyways, that was a great set of questions. But what are we drinking tonight?
We're drinking a mosh podge. Is that the right word?
Well, we started off
so
with that.
We were up in Kalamazoo. This is apparently Joe and Amanda's favorite coffee shop, or one of them.
It's pretty good.
So it's from Water Street Coffee Roasters, which we drank Water Street before on the show, the dark roast. But I bought 2 different roasts. I don't remember what the other one that I bought was. I just found a light roast. I bought a light roast Ethiopian that I'm excited to crack open. But we're drinking the Bali Blue Moon coffee, which you said you've roasted before.
We've actually drank it on the podcast like 2 years ago. I roasted some and we had it.
See, I don't even remember it, man.
Well, that's because we've had a lot of coffee since then.
We've had a lot of coffee.
Including, we're going to be drinking this special gift that we got from one of our listeners.
I do want to say, this one is phenomenal. This Bali Blue Moon, it's a good morning sipping coffee. It's not great in the evening.
It's, it's not a dessert coffee. No. It's not very mouthy, velvety. But it's like, okay, yeah.
It's bright.
Right.
And this is what I like about it, dude. So check this out. So I also have never had it the way you made it. I've always done
I've never done
the Chemex style. So it's a little stronger with the Chemex. But I like this where it talks about the cupping notes, but it even tells you ideal breakfast coffee.
It is
and
a breakfast.
Tangy acidity. And that's why I bought it.
So
it was really yummy.
Moving on to a special thank you from our friend Jim. That's all I got. There's no last name, just Jim.
Did you give him our address or something?
I don't remember. But Jim sent us some coffee from Big Island Coffee Roasters
from
Hawaii.
We got Hawaiian coffee, baby.
It's a Kona coffee from Hawaii.
I love it.
And
100%.
And the notes that Jim sent for us, it says, "You fueled me with food conversation." With food conversation? Nice. You fueled me with food conversation, and now it's time.
I bet you're supposed to say good. I bet you're supposed to say good.
To fuel you with good coffee.
It's supposed to be good conversation.
I'm sure it is, but that says food.
So this isn't coffee we can drink yet.
So
right?
This is actually green coffee, which I'm actually excited about because I've never roasted Kona coffee. And so I'm going to get a chance to roast the Kona coffee, and we're going to drink it on the podcast.
I'm excited. Now, so I have a question, though. At the top, there's like a score, like a rating.
Yes, I didn't read it.
Well, it just says it got
coffee review, 93
score.
points. I'm guessing that's out of 100, but it's 100% Kona coffee. So the cupping notes on this, if I roast it right, is going to be caramel, cacao, plum.
What's cacao?
Cacao is like, isn't that like chocolate? Like before it's chocolate, it's like the cocoa bean before it's like cacao. It's like the cacao pie. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong.
We're just going to drink it.
But black cherry, apricot, blossoms. So it's going to be a phenomenal roast. I'm actually probably going to try to roast this next week, so when we get back together, we can drink some of this.
I'm excited for this, man.
So, yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. But, Jim, thank you. You know what? There's a lot of people out there who are like, you guys are great, but then there's another class of awesome people that
like
are
you,
like,
Rodney Buse, and you,
here's
Jim.
Coffee.
We've had Sabrina send us coffee from Canada. We've had
great.
Rodney send us all different kinds from Virginia Beach. We've had Jim send us some stuff. We always forget Homeboy's name, who sent us the bicycle coffee. That was really good. That crap was amazing.
Yeah. We've had the Fathom coffee from Rodney Buse.
Yep.
Who else? Wasn't it? It wasn't Andrew Wood, was it, that sent us coffee? Who was it?
Nope, Andrew Wood's never sent us coffee. Coat bought us.
Coat, that's what it was.
Coat sent us up some, and he sent me a V60. That was dope.
Yeah. Yep.
That I kind of hijacked. You know,
you did hijack that.
I have the Clever Drip on my like gift list that I want from Beth now because of you. Thank you. So another coffee contraption.
Yes.
But no, we've had other people send it from Michigan. We've had coffee
everywhere. We've had
all over the place, man.
And we thank every single one of you.
And if you want to send us coffee, just let us know, and we will let you know what address to send it to.
Yeah.
How about that?
We actually have a business address. You can just send it to. You can actually just Google Real Talk Christian Podcast. I think the address pops up.
Did you put your personal address in there?
Huh? No, it's a business address.
What is the business address?
The business address.
I don't even know what the business address is. I didn't know.
It's the address that's the business address.
I just had to flip my business that I run from UPS to a different UPS, and they screwed me over, so I had to cancel that one and go to the USPS. So I have a PO box now, so that's exciting.
Nice. Anyways, we have one last bit of housekeeping, which is kind of sad that we're already at 14 minutes. And we're trying to keep this short, which it'll never happen. But this one,
I'm not reading this one. Nope.
I'm going to read it. All right. So this one comes from Pi330. And it's entitled Empty Cup to be Filled.
Yum.
Like a cup of coffee.
Yum.
As a quote unquote rewinder, as often referred to on the podcast, I'm going to be upset when I get to the newest episodes because I listen to almost 5 a day. This podcast has helped me fuel my day and has filled my spiritual cup. Fuller and Marc really discuss the topic with biblical lenses and make you think. If you have any question or doubt on the topics discussed, then you won't be left with many questions after listening to the episode on that topic. I am leaving sixth here so Marc can read it. You got to read it at least. And Fuller can laugh. And they go down a rabbit trail.
Basically.
I seriously love this podcast, and I am sure you will too. Also, with as much coffee as they discuss, I may or may not have bought more coffee supplies to enhance my coffee experience. So.
But what supplies did you buy?
That's
the question.
You should go to Facebook.
Join the Facebook group.
And go to the the Real Talk Christian Podcast Community group and let us know what you got.
And I'm not reading that sinful word. I'm not doing it.
What's the word?
Nope.
Just for the listeners.
Nope.
Say it.
Speaking of Sith.
Say it.
Speaking of Sith.
Yeah.
Rabbit Trail. Have you watched any of Kenobi yet?
Oh, dude.
I have not. Do not ruin it. I haven't had time. I haven't even had time to think.
Let's dive into this.
I did watch the newest Top Gun. Not the newest one. I watched the old OG Top Gun in preparation for the new one, though. I watched the OG one for the first time ever last night, and it was amazing.
I have a problem. Here goes the rabbit trail. I have a problem because of the Scientology beliefs of Tom Cruise watching things because of the things he said, and it's just like all I hear now, no matter what character he's playing. But did you realize...
Even with him just being Maverick?
Did you realize Iceman, Val Kilmer...
Yep.
Played Batman.
Yep. Actually was. I was like, I know that name. I know the name Val Kilmer, but I can't remember.
Has throat cancer.
Really?
And has been struggling with it and has to, like, a little hole in his neck where he has to, like, plug it to talk. And he talks like this because of that. And so in the new Top Gun movie, his son... Val Kilmer's son sounds so much like Val Kilmer did when he was younger. He actually voiced Val Kilmer's parts. Why Val Kilmer acted it out.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
I'm going to watch the movie just for Val Kilmer.
Just for Val. See, I enjoyed it. I mean, now,
well, I
won't lie. Young Tom Cruise has a face that's very punchable. Like, it's kind of kind of jerky.
Is it unlovable?
But that's a good transition into the conversation. But no, I would say I finally... But I finally watched the OG Top Gun. I have not watched Jerry Maguire yet. That's on the list. Nope. Never watched Jerry Maguire.
How can you not say... You had me at hello. If you haven't watched Jerry Maguire.
Because I don't say that.
You should.
I say things like that food slaps.
You know what? You might actually, very thoroughly enjoy watching that with Beth.
I think I will. Especially with the nature of like the sports agent and stuff like that. So
focus, bring it in.
All right, so we're talking about the Unlovable.
The Unlovable.
Am I unlovable?
No, you are very lovable.
Oh, thank you for sucking up. All right.
Well, that's not a suck up. You are very lovable. Lovable. So how can we love the unlovable is the topic in which we broach tonight.
I love it. Set it up, homie.
So this actually came from a listener who left this question via email. And
I think I missed this one.
I don't know, but I put it in the queue. And
I love how our wives are both texting, by the way.
I just saw that. I was like reading
both of our wives are popping up on our iPads.
So, yes. So, loving the unlovable is the topic of the night, and it was sent by a listener.
I actually did not know that. I missed that email. Okay.
First of all, I want to read just a quick little quote and then a definition, then we'll jump into the conversation.
Sounds good to me.
So, G.K. Chesterton, or Gilbert K. Chesterton, says to love means loving the unlovable. To forgive means pardoning the unpardonable. Faith means believing the unbelievable. Hope means hoping when everything seems hopeless.
Dang, that's a quote, bro.
And I just figured that was a good way to start this one off.
That's a really good quote.
Who are the unlovable? Well, according to the collinsdictionary.com, unlovable is if someone is unlovable, they are not likely to be loved by anyone.
Don't you love when they use the definition? Oh, they use the word in the definition to explain the word? Like, come on.
Because they do not have attractive qualities. And so reading on, this talked about an array of people, right? And the types of people it talked about were homeless people, mentally disabled people, physically disabled people, physically and mentally abused people, angry, hateful people, people you consider your enemies, people who are self-destructed to themselves, and so on and so forth. So just being unlovable under that definition covers a wide
That's
topic.
what I'm going to say. It's a wide topic. Like, I feel like there could be different levels of unlovable too,
There is a lot. And I think really we should focus in on maybe three groups, right?
Okay.
Rather than trying to hit every single one, which would probably take, 10 podcasts to do. Let's focus on three groups. And the three groups I kind of want to talk about is the forgotten, the broken, and the enemy. And how do we love those three? So Peter Marin from home.snu.edu, and we'll put the link in the show notes like we always do, says this. It's a little poem. It's called Passing the Buck. This is the How Do We Love the Forgotten, by the way. Passing the Buck. In the first centuries of Christianity, the poor were fed, clothed, and sheltered at a personal sacrifice, and the pagans said about the Christians, see how they love each other? Today, the poor are fed, clothed, and sheltered by politicians at the expense of the taxpayers. And because the poor are no longer fed, clothed, or sheltered at a personal sacrifice, but at the expense of a taxpayer, pagans say about the Christians, see how they pass the buck? So I wanted to...
and that's something that I feel like we've not really hinted at, but we've kind of like skirted around in some of our conversations. But I feel like we need to break that thought process down a little bit too, because that's a question that I know teenagers are prone to us.
Sure.
When you look back at when Christianity was first formed, you have emperors and governors and other people, Josephus, writing about what the Christians are doing, and the fact of the Christians are taking in these people that were on the streets, the widows and orphans in their despair. Like
the poor, the needy, the lame, the sick. These are the forgotten, the homeless.
Right. And the fact that the early church set up deacons, and what was the job of the deacon? To make sure the forgotten got food, the widow, the orphan, those who could not take care of themselves, the paralytic, the blind. The deacons were literally put into place to make sure everybody got food.
This was even part of the responsibility of Stephen, right?
I was the deacon. He was a deacon.
Right. He was one of the ones that helped feed and help distribute the goods that the church gathered and the offering, basically. Right?
And you see that through church history with homeless shelters, with hospitals, with education wings.
So where have we lost it now, right? Where has the church been out at now? And what does Scripture actually say in regards to this, right? Mm-hmm. So James 2:14 through 17 says, what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but does not have works? Can such faith save him? If a brother or sister goes without clothes and lacks daily food, and one of you say to them, go in peace, stay warm, and be well fed, but you don't give them what the body needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith, if it does not have works, is dead by itself. Now, I understand we're talking about faith and basically the...
But it's putting your money where your mouth
is.
It is. That's kind of what this is about.
And to me, James really broke it out there of hey, if you see somebody in need, a brother or sister in need, and you're like, I hope you do okay, and just send them on their way, and don't help take care of the need, how can you say you love them? How can you say you have faith? How can you know what I mean? And then another thing that we have to do, right, is we're supposed to help take care of their needs and share with each other. And Paul says in Romans 12 through 13, rejoice in hope, be patient in affliction, be persistent in prayer, share with the saints in their needs, pursue hospitality. Thank you.
We found a word Fuller can't say.
Hospitality. I can say it after I learned it.
There he goes. There it is.
But there's some major points there, especially in 13, of share with the saints in their needs, right? And obviously the saints are talking about the church and those in the church, but we should pursue hospitality. What is hospitality, right? And how does it pair with the forgotten? Well, hospitality is taking people into your home, caring for them, feeding them, doing these types of things. And again, the church has forgotten the forgotten.
And so I think this is where some of this conversation goes, is we have to figure out what whenever you're doing Bible study, you got to figure out how far the cultural bridge and divide is between what we're reading. Because if we're reading about something like, Moses or Joshua, there's a big cultural divide.
Oh, no,
so the
not
question
at all.
is what's the timeless principle that this passage is communicating? And, the timeless, it's no question, is the fact of share with people what you have with them, because, we've been blessed, so therefore we need to freely also give.
Sure.
But with there being so many institutions and ways to help, well, I guess there's twofold. One is this passage is only talking about Christians, so do we only remember the forgotten Christian? And then B, I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying that's a question that some people might ask from this passage you're trying to get out of it. But then also B, there's already a lot of institutions set up, and there's also a lot of Christian centers too. Like we have Hope Resource, we have Faith Mission over in Elkhart, we have other homeless shelters all around. We have food what am I looking for? Food pantries that a lot of Methodist churches have amazing food pantries set up. There's a lot of thrift stores that a lot of Christians start as well. So how do we not just give our money, but give of ourselves? And what's the truth that we're supposed to give?
Well, I believe what we're called to do is help those in need, right? Okay. That's the whole story and a big premise of the Good Samaritan, right? Mm-hmm. Helping those who are your enemies, helping those who at that point can't help themselves, right? That's what we're called to take care of, the widows and the orphans. It doesn't say the widows and orphans that belong in the church. It just says the widows and the orphans. Mm-hmm. And I think too often we as the church, we as Christians go, okay, I'm going to give my tithe to this ministry, and this ministry. And yet we know of somebody who's in need and go, well, they can go to one of these places and they can get help. And when the need is right in front of you, couldn't you help them yourself? Or you're driving down the road and you see somebody with a flat tire struggling to change it and you just drive on by. Too often as the church, we forget about people. We forget about the widow, the orphan, the needy, the helpless, the mentally handicapped, the physically handicapped. I would put them in that category as well because they are forgotten, right? Mm-hmm. So often, society doesn't want to fully deal with those who are struggling, and I know,
and that's why our foster care system is crazy right now.
And you and Beth are such a beacon of hope.
Beth
right?
Is a beacon of hope.
No, but you also agreed to go, okay, this lady with 5 children who all have issues, not that their kids are bad, but have issues because of where they came from, right? Where they were adopted from. You took on that responsibility and said, I'm going to make these kids my kids as well. And Beth said the same thing. And that's being the hands and feet of Jesus, right? That's being Christ on earth. And showing the love of Christ is by taking steps, right? I can't solve everything, right? I can't help every needy person. I can't adopt every child in need, but I should try to do something, right? And so often we get too comfortable and like to sit in our little safe haven bubble and not do anything but say, I did my online giving. I'm good. That's my tithe. I'm straight. I don't have to worry about nothing because I did my part. And it's like, well, yes, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to give your tithe, but it's time to be the hands and feet of Jesus now. So,
and there's a little chirpy in the back of my head that I'm sure some listeners are hearing as well. And you and I both don't believe in the statement of God helps those who helps themselves. We don't believe in that. But at the same time, how do we handle those who aren't, I don't want to say they're just forgotten, but those who are, either homeless or addicts or whatever, and they reject the help, they refuse the help, or they're just okay just living with handouts and then do it. Because, as a kid, I would always hear like, well, why don't we give people money? It was like, well, the classic independent fundamental Baptist church answer was, well, they're probably just going to use them on drugs and alcohol anyways.
But you don't know that.
We don't want to enable them.
No.
And that's where I feel like a lot of Christians in today's world, their minds go.
But their minds go there before they've even had the conversation.
Okay.
Right? We see a panhandler with a sign and we go, probably just scamming, probably just going and using for drugs and not actually going and investigating whether there is an actual need or not, right? And it's easy to do, right? Hey, we'll work for food. You see a lot of those signs. They need money, will work, or whatever. You just pull up and go, hey, I got some work for you.
But how do you handle people who, because, there was one time where I remember there was some people outside Chick-fil-A, and this was a story that someone else told me. It's our Chick-fil-A, though, and they were out there with a sign, and they were like homeless and need help, and then the Chick-fil-A owner literally walked out there, and he's like, hey, I can give you a job. We can help you out. And he goes, no, I'm good. I just want handouts. Yeah. And so it's like, how do we love the forgotten when the forgotten doesn't want to be,
Would you consider that person actually forgotten? Are they actually helpless and needy? No, that owner went and investigated, and they refused and rejected. At that point, I would say you can lead a horse to water,
but you can't make him drink it.
Can't make him drink it. And
if you try, you'll drown him.
You offer the help. If they reject the help, that's all you've done. You've done what you can do.
So practical ways of how do we help those who are forgotten? What would you say are some actual action steps you can take?
So some action steps you could take is, one, get involved with one of these organizations that are out there doing the work, right? That's the very first thing that you can do, whether it's foster care, the homeless shelter, a church going out door to door to see if they can help do repairs on people's houses, the Habitat for Humanity. There's organizations out there, and I'm not saying everybody has to go and flood that and do that, and you're not a Christian if you don't do that, but I'm saying this is one way that we can get out there to not forget the lost and the broken. The other thing that we can do is go to those areas like foster cares and stuff like that. If we can't be a foster care ourselves, and say, hey, what are your guys' needs, right? How can I help you, right? Because the state, yes, they provide some, but they don't provide all.
No.
And so how can I help you? If you know of a foster family, how can I help you? And go in and be in the hands and feet of Jesus. And says, sometimes, you know what all them foster kids need is a little extra love. Go play with them. Go hang out with them. Go help the parents. Let them have a date night while you watch the kids. That's another huge help.
And I'll even say this, someone who I think's forgotten, specifically in the church world, I think of two different groups. One are these single moms, the single parents who they're trying to work hard. Honestly, single moms are the hardest working people I've ever met. I was raised by one, where it's like you have to have a job, but then you also got to raise these kids, but you got to figure out what to do with the kids during the day and this, that, and the other. Literally just being their friend and going out with coffee or showing up with coffee is a huge thing, especially for stay-at-home moms who feel stuck with newborns. That's one group that I feel like they're forgotten. Another one, to be honest with you, are the single adults that are in churches too. Because a lot of times churches, once you get past the college age, okay, if you're not married or if you're not married with kids, we don't have anything for you.
I think, and I refer back to the episode that Janelle was on, right?
Okay.
Sometimes young adults, older teens that are the churchgoers that don't really do much wrong are forgotten about, right? And Janelle gave her whole story and testimony behind that of how she was forgotten in the church.
I didn't even know all that.
So, you have to watch out because they can be the forgotten, and we need to love on them as well.
Yep. And I know there's some people who are in the Facebook group who they've said that, where they're like, they've been a part of a church for so long, but people don't always seem to notice if they're gone or they miss or something like that. So yeah, maybe the first place to start is look around your own church congregation and just go, who needs a little extra love? Who needs to come to dinner? Who needs to go to lunch? Which that was the reason why Beth chose the church that she did in Knoxville. Is she showed up one time. It wasn't supposed to be her church. It was more just like, I just need to land somewhere. I'm in a transition, trying to figure it out. Right. Well, her transition home ended up becoming her home because the children's pastor showed up with food when she got these placements for foster care.
Right.
There was a family that said, we're taking you in.
Yeah.
We're going to love on you. Come on out to the farm. Come hang out. Bring the kids. We'll have a good time.
But I think you make a good point, right? It doesn't take much to look of where to find the forgotten.
Nope.
Look in your own backyard.
Yep.
Because they're everywhere.
And then show up at Starbucks.
So let's move on, right? So we got two more groups that we want to hit. So the broken.
The broken, okay.
Right? How do we love the broken? And what I mean by the broken is those that struggle from past mental and physical abuse, divorce. Okay. You have this, right? You're one of those people that were broken for a while, right? Many others like you, those who are struggling addicts, are broken people, and those types of lines of where they don't have the strength in themselves to stand and be, that they're just broken on the inside, broken on the outside too. So you could tie them in.
Broken, I'm thinking of like
broken,
someone who's got their soul crushed, or they're dealing with that pain. Yeah.
Right. So Romans 15, 1 through 2. I'm going to read these two scriptures and then we can discuss. 15, 1 through 2, Romans says, "Now we who are strong have an obligation to bear the weakness of those without strength, and not to please ourselves. Each one of us is to please his neighbor for his good, to build him up." And Romans 12, 15 through 16 says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep, and live in harmony with one another." So both of these scriptures that Paul wrote was talking about helping those without strength, who are weak, who can't help themselves, right? We're supposed to build them up. And it's not always by, hey, let me fix your problem for you, but hey, if they're rejoicing, we rejoice. If they're weeping, we weep with them, right? We stand by them. It's that that brotherhood, that tribe mentality of, listen, I'm going to go through thick and thin with you. I'm going to be, you can rely on me because I'm here with you. I'm not going to try to fix you. I'm just going to be with you. And we've actually had different conversations about this before in different episodes of our podcast about how to walk with somebody who is just hurting. And I think it's very important not to always try to fix, but to just be.
Right. And, in Psalms 34, you read that passage in Psalm 34:18, where the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And generally, for those of us who have been broken, have had to walk those paths, each person requires something a little bit different,
Right.
Like for me, it was the fact of I had, you and Janelle were huge.
Sure.
One of the elders in our church, like he actually said one time, he goes, do you want me to keep sending you these verses? Because for about, oh goodness, I would say a few weeks straight after I found out about everything, he was just texting me verses every single morning. And he's like, you never respond to him. Like, yeah, I don't know what to say, but please keep sending them. Like,
sure.
They're super cool. But he actually had that conversation. But, each person who's broken needs a little bit something different. And sometimes people don't always know that other people are broken unless you speak up and say something.
Right.
Mine was a little bit more public, so it was more obvious.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think of those people kind of like Job and his friends. They had some friends where it's like, oh, you must have sinned. Did you do something wrong? All these different things. And you must not be righteous. And, oh, look at you, Job. You say all these things, but where's your God?
Right.
Type thing. And then you got the one friend who just sat.
Right. Well, they sat.
They all sat. But
they
then
sat for like 3 days. Yeah, right.
Sat.
But
and they were there. Their physical presence helped them just know that you're broken, but you're not alone because I'm here with you.
And sometimes it goes past that. We had a whole episode on anxiety and depression, right?
Yep.
And that is considered broken. There's something broken, and you're not like, oh, you're a broken person, but there's something broken on the inside that you can't fix and that nobody else can fix. And we had a whole episode on that and I think the advice would be to seek counseling, seek help. Don't be alone if you're in that position. And then how do those outside of that come alongside? And I think
and be wise in that. Like, when I was going through my stuff, I made, and I've never owned a gun, never really feel like I need to or plan on it. Never know. But at the same time, I was like, I will never have a gun in this house and I will never have alcohol in this house.
So
there's no point.
How do we love those broken people? We come alongside them.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, we help them with whatever they need. And when they don't have a need and haven't voiced a need, we are just there for them.
Yep.
Not trying to fix them, just being there for them, and praying for them, fervently praying for them, not always praying with them, but praying for them, and then encouraging for them to seek help. I think professional help is a big need for a lot of people. Some people, not so much, but that's a very rare occasion. I think most people should seek out some sort of counseling or help. Mm-hmm. If they're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or in some deep depression.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, to illustrate this point, one of the shows that I've been watching a lot while I've been working is Hawaii Five-0, and I don't know if you've ever seen the new Hawaii Five-0 with McGarrett and Dano and all that, or no?
No, I don't watch much TV.
So there's the crew for Hawaii Five-0, basically cops, and one of the cops, he lost his wife. Like his wife dies because there was this whole situation, and she ended up dying at the hands of, for lack of a better word, terrorists.
Sure.
And there was an episode that aired like a year or season afterwards, and as another person in their group was grieving, this one guy, Chin-Ho Kelly, came in and said, you know what McGarrett did for me, which is his boss? He said he would call me up at like midnight and say, hey, you awake? And they would always meet at this coffee shop, and he said McGarrett was just there. He'd hand him a newspaper, have a cup of coffee. He goes, most of the time, we would just sit there.
Right.
We wouldn't always talk, but if I wanted to talk, I could. If I didn't want to, I didn't have to. But he said, but I always knew that my best friend was there.
Right.
And sometimes that's just what people need, is just to know that their best friend's there.
So, yeah, that's a good way to sum it up.
That's what I had.
Yeah,
I had you, buddy.
All right, let's move on to the final group here, right?
The last and final group.
And I think this is what our listener was really more referring to of the struggle of loving your enemy, right? That person that just grinds you the wrong way, and you really struggle.
Have a real enemy.
And it's just like, I've tried everything. They're just not lovable. They don't want. They ruin everything. They wreck everything. They're just like self-destructive. They're what's that word that I don't like using? Toxic. Yep. And so how do we love your enemy? I just want to read. I'm actually gonna just read two verses here. Well, two sections. And they're both out of Romans 12. Romans 12:14 says, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse. And then if you jump ahead to verse 17, it says, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Give careful thought to what you do and make sure it's honorable in everyone's eyes. If possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Friends, do not avenge yourself. Instead, leave room for God's wrath, because it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For in doing so, you will heap fiery coals on his head. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good. And I think that this is such an important verse. These couple of verses are so important that this is talking about someone, in my opinion, that is very, very hard, and just it's that bully that just keeps pounding your way, because Paul's saying, hey, don't repay the evil for evil, but instead do what's honorable in everyone's eyes, right? To make sure that as far as it depends on you, you live peaceably with all men. And I know it's so hard sometimes, right? There's just those people that just want to wring their neck, but that is not the right thing to do.
Or pray for a bus to come along.
That is not the right thing to do. Nope. And it can be anything from a coworker, a family member, a friend that you have disarray with, an ex-spouse, a spouse. It could be anyone, right? That person that they're just not lovable because X, Y, and Z. And even at times, I have been that person, right? And a little story time with Fuller.
All right, I'm ready.
Back in my early 20s, I had a group of people that really loved me, and I was so self-destructive, right? Because I didn't want to listen to what they said. I just wanted to do what I do and, basically flip them the bird and say, screw you. Even though they were trying to love and help me, I didn't listen to whatsoever. And let me tell you something. There were some that were just still so loving. So loving. And then there were some who were like, well, if you say flip me the bird, you can just go off and never talk to me again. And let me tell you, those are the relationships that failed and struggled, but the ones that stuck around and loved and continued to live at peace as best as possible and just speak truth, but be gentle and loving, those are the people I had respect for more, and that it was really hard for me to continue to bite on, right, as a unlovable person. But the people that were like, well, screw you, then those people were like, see, told you, look, it's the shaming, it's the shameful, and blah, 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 and that I'd make fun of them and stuff like that. And those are the people that they had no say with me. But the people that were just loving and caring and honorable and tried to live at peace, no matter what I did, those are the people that gained my respect.
And what did that look like, though? When you said they loved you and they spoke truth and love in that, obviously this is, I know you're referring to when you were starting to go down the path.
Sure.
Of, and some people say path of no return.
Yeah, right, sure.
But when you were going through all of that, is it more the fact of they would just show up when they would show up? Is it more the fact of they just didn't shun you? Like how? It
was no matter what I said, they would always be there and just say, I love you. I love you, and nothing that you say is going to make me stop loving you. And it was like, that ate me alive. Oh, I'll show them. Nope, didn't work. I do this. No, I love you. And listen, what you're doing, you know better. You know better. And I love you, and that's the only reason why I'm telling you that what you're doing is not good. And I'd be like, well, screw you. And they're like, I still love you, and I'm always here for you. If you ever need me, I'm always here for you. And they were every time I needed them, they were always there. And that to me spoke volumes, right? And those are the people, I think of my godfather was one of them.
Okay.
And he was, it broke me because when I ended up leaving, I moved to Florida, right, during all this trial-y days. And that's when he was in a motorcycle accident and died. And I never got to say goodbye to him. And my last time talking to him was me yelling at him and him loving on me. And so it ate me alive when he passed away. And I have nothing but respect for that man. And I still love and miss that man. So, but yeah. And then there's other relationships that have completely dissolved and I've never talked to the people again because of how things went. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I think that, like Galatians 6 says, we talk about when you're dealing with somebody, do it with gentleness and love, that you may not fall in same temptation. I think that story can apply to the unlovable enemy, but then sometimes the enemy just doesn't want to hear it, and sometimes you just have to take it, right? Mm-hmm. You have to, don't repay evil for evil, because vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, but feed them, give them a drink, do these things, because...
Kill them with kindness, homie.
Right, exactly. And not that should be you got to be careful, because if you're like, I'm just doing this so they get irritated, now you're in the wrong, right?
Right.
Because now you're getting vengeance again.
And I don't think it's a bad thing to have boundaries set up for certain things too, but it's more the fact of, as much as you are able to live at peace with all, with everyone that you can. Like, there are certain people in my life, where you have to have boundaries that are set up in certain areas, but that doesn't give me the right to...
But sometimes those boundaries, right, that creates peace.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. The boundaries create peace. Right. And, like I was looking... when you look at a lot of family dynamics too, like between siblings, between, cousins and whoever, not so much with me, but because I have a different upbringing. It's a little bit different, but I see other people and talking with other people. They're like, you know what, with this person, they will always be my brother. They'll always be my sister, but this is just a line that we have because it's what keeps the peace with the family.
And that's, you try to work it out, and if it cannot be worked out, then I would suggest set the boundary up to continue to keep the peace.
But it doesn't give us the right to stop loving them and showing up when the time comes and doing.
And if they ever need us, to show up for them, right?
Because what Jesus was even the one that said, anyone could be friend with someone who's friendly with them, but those who follow me, follow Jesus,
right,
they will love those who hurt them and persecute them.
Right.
And that's generally when the Bible talks about the enemy. That's more so what it's referring to, is the people who are actively trying to hurt you. And there are people out there, sadly, who do that.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, a friend can be nice to someone someone can be nice to someone who's being nice back, but when someone's being a jerk to you, rather than cutting them back and, cutting them a new one,
right,
it's, still being kind and grace-filled and loving and the best way that you can. Like, it almost kind of reminds me of, when at least for me, when I was a fast food worker, you had those people that were just absolute
jerks,
terrible people.
So Janelle said she had the same people that came into the family Christian bookstore. The Christians used to be absolutely horrible.
There, people like that who are horrible. And it's part of it was you had to be nice because you wouldn't lose your job.
Right.
But it's then I think the biggest difference that I would see is I would try to actually genuinely still serve them and not after they leave talk behind their backs.
Right.
Rather than the people who are like, well, I'm going to spit in their. We did not do this Dairy Queen, but people who are like, well, I should have spit in their food. I should have done this. I should have done this. It's like, nope. Just turn the other cheek and keep going, man.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, the scripture I had, but we won't read it, was Luke 6:27 through 36, where basically Jesus says
that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
So, so to sum all this up, right, to land the plane, as we like to say here on RTC.
Land the plane. Because at the end of the day.
We're all about love. So I'm going to give my final thought, and then I'm going to give you your opportunity to say your final thought. And my final thought is actually just two quotes. I think it's the best way to sum it up. So quote number one comes from Ashley Montague, and it says, "It is not the most lovable individuals who stand more in need of love, but the most unlovable."
It's true.
And all those groups we talked about. The other one, this quote comes, and the author is KB. That's all it says. KB is.
You don't know who KB is?
No idea.
You don't know who KB is?
No.
Dude's a hip hop artist. He is a theologically Bible college trained.
Well, KB here is gonna give y'all a little something.
He has a podcast called East Side Rabbi, West Side. I think it's East Side Rabbi or something like that. Phenomenal thinker. Dude is a phenomenal thinker.
So he said, if you don't think God's love for the unlovable is amazing, go try to love someone who hates you for a day and see if that helps. So those are my final thoughts.
I like that. If you don't think God's love for the unlovable is amazing, go try to love someone that hates you for a day and see if that helps. I like that. When it comes to loving the unlovable, I think we first need to just live with our eyes wide open a little bit. I don't remember who said that quote. And when we're looking around those who are in our own four walls of our own church, there are a lot of people who need to be loved. I don't care how big your church is or how small your church is. Right. There's people there who need to be loved. And sometimes it's a single mom. Sometimes it's just the one dude who's sitting by himself. If there's a single bro who's like in his 30s sitting by himself, you got to go talk to that man because he might be struggling with something. You don't know. And we have to live with our eyes wide open. And I like to be I would hope that our churches kind of have the same mindset that of Christ, where it's like, I'm not just going to send my money, but I'm going to send myself.
Right.
And the Christian life isn't meant to be a passive faith. It's supposed to be an active faith where we actually, like what James said, where we let off the whole conversation with, you say you have faith, but I'm going to show you that I have faith. And I think that's where this conversation needs to end. It's just the fact of, simply put, we have to put our money where our mouth is, open our eyes, and go love the snot out of some people.
So that reminds me of this quote from my father-in-law's favorite theologian, John MacArthur. And he said, love's question is never who to love, because we are to love everyone, but only how to love most helpfully. We are not to love merely in terms of feeling, but in terms of service. God's love embraces the entire world, John 3:16, and he loved each of us even while we were still sinners and his enemies, Romans 5:8-10. Those who refuse to trust in God are his enemies, but he is not theirs. In the same way, we are not to be enemies of those who may be enemies to us. And I thought that was
That's
a really
solid quote, man, especially one the fact of they're enemies of God, but that doesn't mean
he's not their enemy.
I like that.
That's a big thing. So
I like that. Land the plane with that, my friend?
Let's land the plane with that one, my friend.
Time for Fun Facts with Filler.
I love it. All right, my dude, my iPad is turned off because I did not want to cheat and to know what the fun fact is.
Well,
so
here, let me hide
I
it.
have no clue what the fun fact for the evening is. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy this one with the listener, my friend.
So the fun fact of
the real fun fact is it's only like 50 minutes and we're pretty much done.
the fun. Well,
That's
yeah,
a fun fact.
That's a pretty good. That's a record almost. So the fun fact of the day is you can now get a headstone with a QR code. It's called a living headstone.
Come on.
They show pages with photos, video biographies, and comments from loved ones. It's actually kind of cool.
Really? Like, that would actually be kind of cool to walk. Okay, well, do you think
So
about
you just
this?
like boop, and then it's like, oh, it's like comments and video biographies. Like that would be
Especially
that'd be
now,
awesome.
think about it. Now, since I've watched Top Gun, my mind's kind of there. But to think of like even like the military backgrounds of people, like these people who have died in service or afterwards, to scan the little QR code and see their
What
pictures,
their life was like.
what people were saying, maybe some videos. Like, that's pretty dope, actually.
I might spend more time in the cemetery. Not really, but you could actually. What if we put QR codes and it's just like RTC?
So what I'm hearing you say is you want to go and slap some QR codes on some people's headstones.
No, I just want to slap them on ours when we go.
Oh, I got you.
It's cool.
I mean, technically, I can give you permission to go slap one on my dad's headstone.
But we should do that and put RTC stuff on it.
Wow.
Be like, he produced this glorious face.
And we produce the podcast. So speaking of the podcast, man, I don't know how else we can segue out of that. But seriously, guys, we say this at the end of every single episode, but it would mean the world to us if you leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts. We just did the 100 giveaway a little bit ago, but we would love to reach that 200 milestone now.
Yes.
Maybe should we do a 150 milestone, another giveaway at 150?
Well,
Maybe 200?
Maybe.
We'll find out.
You have to tune in to find out.
But either way, if you listen to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review over there. If you're on Spotify, leave a rating because it helps more people find the show.
And don't forget to check us out at the Engedi Music Festival on July 22nd and 23rd if you're in the area of Leonidas, Michigan.
Southern to Southwest Michigan.
It's a Southwest Michigan.
So this is going to air before that, though?
It is, yeah.
Okay,
it's going to we'll be there. We're good, man. I made sure. But yeah, go ahead and check us out on July 22nd, 23rd. We're actually going to be sitting down in a tent and having conversations. People that come up, we're going to have those conversations. Those are actually going to air on the podcast of just real live conversations because that's what we say we're about.
All about
real
it, man.
conversation with real people on faith, culture, and society, and we're doing it.
We can finally do it. But until then, make sure you check us out on the website, realtalkchristianpodcast.com. Anywhere on social media, and our phone number, if you want to text us a question, is 574-400-5352. I had fun this week, Fuller.
Me too.
But until next time,
Take it easy.